It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Nice entry pass to Cody Williams. Filipowski threads the needle on the bounce pass, and Cody Williams takes it to the rim and throws it down. Layup, no good. Tapped out, controlled by Collier. Collier takes the half-court shot at the buzzer. Good! That's a good way to end the streak. Collier with the three-point shot from half-court. Inbound to Keontae George, crossing the timeline. Keontae gets to the straightaway three, shoots. Good! He makes another one with 3.6 seconds left.
There's Scotty G on the call as the Utah Jazz lose again 114-112 to the Portland Trailblazers. PK, you had to love that. They played well except for that streak Scotty mentioned in passing there where they gave up 18 straight points over 6 minutes in the second quarter. Turned out to be a decisive run. The Blazers needed all of that in a 2-point win.
Who played well?
The Utah Jazz.
Markin wasn't out there. Kessler wasn't out there. Collins wasn't out there.
I think if Kessler had been out there, they'd have won the game.
Yeah, he's a difference maker.
They were plus 12 when Filipowski was on the floor, minus 14 when he was off. Small and super young, and the Blazers pounced on that lineup. You like that?
They pounced on it.
Pounced! Scored 18 straight points. Juzang was out there with Collier and Keontae George. They were super small. Sensabaugh was out there. Forget who else was out there.
Just one more guy. Collier? Did you already say him?
Collier was out there. Yeah.
Oh, because I forgot. When you get like past three names, and then you get to five, I forgot who got one. You're 1 and 2. You know what I mean?
I just got 4 of the 5.
Yeah. I mean, some of the guys played well. But it is, who's going to, when they're good, who's going to be there?
An excellent question, because they're going to move through some of these guys whenever they make whatever medium-sized or big game hunting deal they make at some point. There'll probably be players going back the other way, so there's no way to know that right now.
I think, to me, the most important thing that I saw last night was Cody Williams looked active. And he had 8 boards, 5 assists. He was running around. He just looked like he belonged far more than any game that I've seen him look like he belonged. And that's important. I mean, I'm not really caught up in shooting percentages or whatnot and all these types of things. I want to see, because he's so young, how does he look in terms of carrying himself with a level of confidence rather than, I'm so timid and I don't really belong here. And I thought that, and it's not that he had overwhelming stats, but I just felt like he looked like he belonged.
That's a big step forward.
Those guys.
57 games in, he looks like, okay, you can do this.
Your highest picks have to play well. It's just a fact. They don't necessarily have to be stars. You're going to have to get stars, obviously, but they've got to show. And he, right now, is the highest pick that they have on the roster. Who's playing? I think Sexton went a little higher, but he's not playing right now.
So the Jazz lose, and in Tankathon 2025, they did everything they could. They sat five guys who maybe could have played if they had to, but they didn't, and they lose by 2 points. So onward and upward, and back at it Wednesday against the Minnesota. Onward and downward, and back at it Wednesday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Or as we like to call them, the Sacramento Kings. Sorry, Minnesota's here Friday. Sacramento Wednesday, then Minnesota
You just
Friday.
had me going to the schedule because I thought to myself, that is wrong.
That is wrong. Sacramento Wednesday, Minnesota Friday. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Porter back over to Jokic inside the arc. Hands it off to Porter. Porter goes to the left hand, gets down the lane, dunked it home, 2 hands. Blew right past 2 different Indiana defenders.
Sends it ahead to Dennis Schroeder across the timeline. Pistons with the lead and the ball. Harris, Cunningham, he's wide open and hits a 3. And that could be the dagger.
Charlotte comes up empty. Kings come right back with it. Levine, heat check. Oh, my! my. He just drilled one from close to 30 on the right wing. 39 season-high points. 15 here in the fourth quarter.
SGA now with it against Nikhil. They run Nas at him in a double. SGA runs away from that. Attacks down the lane. Rises up. His shot blocked by Anthony Edwards. It's loose in the corner. TJ Shannon's got it. And a whistle. And a timeout is called by Minnesota. Anthony Edwards just saved the day.
Anthony Edwards blocking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander late in the Minnesota Timberwolves with a huge comeback. Down 25 in the third quarter. Down 16 with less than 4 minutes to play. They force overtime and beat the Thunder 131-128.
That announcer had a little lock in him in voice, didn't he?
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah. You saved the day. I thought Locke did good on TV last night.
He looked good, too.
He didn't talk as much because you're watching it. But he had the right approach. And I'm wondering, I've never done any of that. When you go from radio to TV, how much of an adjustment it is. And he kept calling Thurl Ron. I get that. But I thought he sounded well. If there should ever be an opportunity for him to do that permanently, he would be good at it. Now back to your stats.
The Denver Nuggets pick up a win. They've been playing well lately. They beat the Pacers 125-116. The Joker had 19 assists, 2 short of the NBA record for a center.
He's the best point guard in the league. I've been saying that for years.
Did you know there was that record for a center?
Of course.
Turns out Wilt had 21 once upon a time.
I didn't know. I don't care. But I would think that there would absolutely be one for sure. Yeah. And I would think Wilt holds the record because he holds all the records.
He holds all those records, right? 21 assists in a game, most by a center. And the Joker got there with 19. Didn't get his triple-double, had 9 boards, but Denver wins comfortably. And Detroit, a 7-game win streak for the first time in a decade. They beat the Clippers.
You were dissing Detroit yesterday, telling me they were a 500 team.
They're a little over 500.
They're way over 500.
Well, thanks to this streak.
Their 32 wins are more than the past 2 seasons combined.
You combine. You go last season and the season before. You add them together, and they don't come to 32. Detroit's my new team. I'm going back to my roots.
25-26 when this streak started, and now they have lifted themselves into 6th place in the East. They are
and you said that yesterday.
They are out of the play-in
You're not
territory.
following the Pistons the way I am day to day.
That's probably true. The Wizards beat the Nets 107-99. They have the last team in the NBA to hold an opponent under 100 points this season. They pick up win number 10, but they are still the worst team in the league by a wide margin. Everybody else has gotten to 14 wins now, so they got a lot of breathing room. All the lottery odds, guaranteeing themselves a top 5 pick. Doing the most they can. You heard the Kings in there. They blew out the Hornets 130-88. Zach LaVine, 42 points in that one. So, sorry about that, Jazz fans. Charlotte, still on 14 wins in Tankathon 2025. Veteran sportscaster Al Trautwig passed away at the age of 68 due to complications from cancer. Worked a lot in the New York market on the MSG networks, but did some network stuff as well. U.S. Open tennis, Tour de France, Indy 500, 16 Olympics. He was 68 years old.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Utah Fire's head coach Craig Smith with 4 games left in the regular season. Assistant coach Josh Eiler will serve as the interim coach for the rest of the year. The Utes play at Arizona. They're in Tucson tomorrow night. And the search is on for the new head coach. Will it be someone with ties to the program, or will it be some outsider we don't know yet who we'll have to get to know? Any early handicapping odds on this, PK? We knew it was a possibility.
I think if Alex Jensen wants a job, he can have it.
He can have it.
I think that, I was making calls and doing all that stuff, texting, blah, 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 as we always do. And I think, a lot of the high rollers, they want one of their own. And I agree, get one of your own, but there's got to be one of your own available with the necessary qualifications. And they have them.
3 of them. Sure. Andre Miller.
I mean, he's
Alex, obviously, Andre Miller, and Johnny Bryant
was a great player for them, no question about it.
He's a G League coach now.
Yeah, and Johnny Bryant is an intriguing. I love the guy's story. He started his own workout thing, and then the Jazz brought him here, and he was here, but brought him on, I should say, and then worked his way up. Now he's associate coach, and he's like Donovan Mitchell's guy.
Associate head coach of the Knicks, yeah.
No, he went to Cleveland.
Oh, sorry, Cleveland. You're right. My bad.
He went to Cleveland, and they're 47-10. He left Utah for the Knicks.
He's working really close. You mentioned with Donovan.
Yeah, he's there. Those two are super tight, and the Jazz. This was a story that he was working out Hayward after Hayward he's a free agent, so he's in that kind of gray area.
The season's over.
Yeah,
right.
And so then Hayward brings his guy in, and then the Jazz felt later on, well, they had that to copy what Johnny was doing because they thought so highly of Johnny. So when he left, and he was orchestrated, he was out of here the first chance he got. It just took a while.
But on the way out the door, Hayward and his folks made sure they ripped off Johnny Bryant's workout routine.
The Jazz wanted to deny it, and they got all sensitive about some of the stuff we said. But in the end, he was always going to be gone. That's a fact. But the point being that they wanted to study what Johnny Bryant did. So, yeah, I just wonder if he's too far down the line. He's not at the Andy Reid level, obviously, but in terms of him being so engrossed in the NBA and Dallas, where Alex is, what are they going to do? They got rid of Luka, and are there other changes coming? And so does he get caught up on that? Does he want stability? And obviously this is home. The other guys came here to play ball. It wasn't their home. But Alex is from here. This is literally home. So you got all those things to figure out. And we'll get to that here soon this morning.
DJ and PK. Oh, Houston beat Texas Tech, number 4 over number 10. Houston avenges their only loss in Big 12 play. They clinched the regular season title. They're 16-1. They're 3 games clear of everybody else after beating Tech 68-61 in Lubbock. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
We're going to look at everything we can. We're going to be selectively aggressive. We obviously, there's things in this league you have to, you have certain amount of resources they allow you to have, and we'll look at that. But we're going to try to improve our football team. We're going to improve our football team, and we expect to have success next year.
That's Dallas Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones. Selectively aggressive. There's a phrase you can hold on to, PK.
The dude was born into it.
Yep. New head coach Brian Schottenheimer. They're expecting to be better. The dude was born into it. So I served that up for you. You're welcome. Former Penn State star pass rusher Abdul Carter continuing a trend of top-rated NFL draft prospects opting not to work out in Indianapolis. He has a shoulder injury suffered late this past season. And Ashton Jonte also, Boise State running back, not working out as well. An unidentified NFL team, unless it's the Packers, which The Athletic believes it to be the Packers, has submitted a rule proposal to ban the tush-push quarterback sneak. Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive vice president of football operations, told reporters at the scouting combine the Eagles have used the play effectively for years. Used to be illegal. They legalized it about 20 years ago. We'll see if it's on its way back out.
Illegal? So you get arrested?
You did. You got arrested. You got
brought
busted,
the cops on
man.
the field.
That's
cuffed
right.
them.
I think it
They
might have
cuffed
been
the coach. They cuffed the coordinator.
Might have been against the rules. I don't know if it was illegal.
Illegal.
It was banned.
Denver Broncos outside linebacker coach Michael Wilhoit facing a felony assault charge for allegedly punching a police officer in the face at the Denver International Airport on Sunday. Per the police report from the Denver Post, Wilhoit told the officer to shut the bleep up after being approached and being told he couldn't leave his vehicle unattended in a drop-off lane. Wilhoit then bumped his chest into the police office per the affidavit, and after being shoved back, punched the officer in the face before driving off. So, see where that court case goes.
There's also a taser deployed that did not work.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
What do these guys have in common? Speak up. Heisman, quarterbacks, champions. He ain't champion of what? Champion of fireball.
Kirby Smart, quipping about Johnny Manziel right there. Georgia coach having some fun at the expense of the former Heisman Trophy winner during a coaching clinic. Stanford Athletic Director Bernard Muir expected to resign from his position with the school after 13 years leading the athletic department. Stanford football hasn't been to a bowl game since 2018, and Stanford basketball has also been languishing under the last couple of coaches. So his 13-year run is done.
I'm calling it right now. Diamondbacks will win the World Series.
Because?
Kenny Dillingham spoke to them yesterday.
Magic touch.
Yeah. Come on. The guy's got it. He's special.
DJ PK.
#golf.
Tony Finau made his debut in the Golf League last night, played for the LA Golf Club alongside Sahith Theegala and Colin Morikawa as they rallied to beat the New York Golf Club 5-4 in overtime. You check any of that out?
Yeah, I did.
Huh? How'd it go? Anything good? Same as it always was.
I mean, it's basically the same, but it's fun to hear these guys in a different environment talk and whatnot.
In that match, they were down 4-0 and came back. That was a fun one.
I mean, it's entertainment. I don't know that it's the highest level of competition. That is going to just drive legacy and all that stuff, and we'll remember it forever and ever. But it's new. They're in a looser environment. They interview people in the stands, not just average fans, but I mean newsmakers. They got something to say. So, so far, it works. I mean, if it went away, my life wouldn't change at all. But yeah, it's a fun thing. And I think that for me, as I've said a trillion times, sports has to be fun or I'm out. And this is fun. I don't know that it means anything, but it's fun.
DJ PK.
#NHL.
Our team is growing, learning. Unfortunately, growth as a human being or as a team come with mistake. Make mistake, you learn from your mistake. Mistake is a good teacher. Unfortunately, as a coach, you will like to skip that part, but it's just the way it is. So I think you see growth in our team. You see our guys getting better, more comfortable in those tough situations. So that's true.
There's the Bear talking about the Utah Hockey Club. They host the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. They are Utah's 4 points out of the last playoff berth in the West, and Chicago's terrible, next to last in the West on 41 points. Haven't played them at home since opening night. Chance to pick up 2 more points here. They need them. Puck drops at 7 o'clock. Pregame at 6 here on the Zone.
Most definitely need them. But, I would say that mistakes, you can call them unfortunate, but I like the idea of the learning aspect of it, and I also think they're necessary. I just don't know anybody who's going to go through in whatever job they have not making mistakes. My first day at the Casa Grande Dispatch, they sent me on a Monday over, and we were an afternoon paper, over to the police station to get all the police logs over the weekend. Johnny took a hubcap, and it was Casa Grande, so we weren't having multi-murders and stuff. You get the point. And so I write it up, and the editor says, "Hey, do you have the dates on these?" Uh-oh.
A mistake. Not a mistake you made again.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And for these guys, these are the biggest NHL games they played in. They're not as big as playoff games, but there's the pressure of trying to get to the playoffs. It's there. It's tantalizing. It's so close they can reach out and touch it. So they're feeling some of that pressure, and that's good. Later on, there'll be more. But you got to start somewhere. And here they are. And it's a totally winnable game tonight. 6 o'clock with Adrian Denny, Mike Folta at 7 o'clock. Mike Folta will prepare for tonight's game by joining us at 8:30. Before him, Jeff Johnson, former University of Utah basketball player. After him, Josh Grant, former University of Utah basketball player, as Utes get ready for a new chapter with a new coach. It's also Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and we'll give away tickets to the Friday night game at the Delta Center. So stick around for that coming up at 8:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and What is Trending has been brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Question of the day is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Josh Grant, Utah Ute legend, joining us right now on JJ and Alex.
The first thing is this is a basketball school. It's changed. Everybody thinks it's a football school, but the University of Utah is a basketball school. We have just played so poorly over the last 20 years that people forgot that. We need to be competing with the football program for the attention of our own fan base. There's no way that we can have such a good fan base at football, and then you go up to a basketball game and you got 3,000 people there. Back when we actually had a good product here, we would play the worst team in the conference, and Huntsman Center was full. And the customers are always right, and in this case, the customers are the fans. And if fans aren't coming, you're doing something wrong.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers who make an unbelievable impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union. And go ahead, DJ. Tell me who else.
No idea.
Beehive Meals.
Question of the morning. Off the big news yesterday, Craig Smith fired at the University of Utah. He is out as basketball coach. What do you make of it? Thoughts? There are a lot of people who have watched this go and are not sorry to see this happen. Margaret, he looked totally lost at the last of their last game. The team had just lost 7 straight. Unacceptable defeat.
You're talking about UCF there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a bad last minute. I mean, they played well at the start, but then the other team made a run. That's no big deal. That seems to happen. A 15-4 lead, 3 minutes in the game doesn't do a whole lot for me. But they played well to get back in it and tie the ball game and all that. And then, the last minute or so, I don't know that I'm going to judge them on the last minute, but things have not been going well enough. That's for sure.
Mark says he was more on the hot seat than I thought he possibly would be. I thought he'd make it through this next season at the bare minimum. Mark thought he had one more year.
I did too, but I have to reflect upon myself. I'm reluctant to fire coaches. Like I thought Krzysztofiak could have gotten another year, but he didn't. And there were some issues there that he wanted to. I think Harlan wanted coaching changes, and Larry didn't want to make them. Blah blah blah. And who knows? Was it the right decision? Well, you haven't really made any progress based on making that decision. And now the program is getting into what a lot of programs have. You have a legend, which they had in Majerus, for whatever you want to think of him. He was really good. And then everybody since then, which has been 20 years, has been fired. And that's not good. Now we're on 20 years. I think Ray's first year was 04-05, which is this very year, 20 years later.
Yep. So it's 3 NCAA tournament bids in 20 years. It's 4 in 21 since Majerus was here, but it's 3 in the last 20. Ray put his Majerus' team back together and went to a Sweet 16. But it's now 3 bids in 20 years, and it's 4 coaches getting fired, and that's a lost generation of fans who don't have the great memories and the flags waving and the place packed and the team winning and all that stuff, which they pretty much had in every decade for 6 straight decades. They really had a role in there for a long time.
The thing for me is the number of the consecutive coaches who've been fired. Because then it becomes a dead-end job. You can have a lot of coaches. Utah State's had a lot of coaches.
But they're moving on and getting jobs, and they're getting better jobs. They're making more money.
Right. So there's Odom, I'm not so sure about that. I think he wanted
lateral move. He wanted to go back east.
Yeah. But the other guys, clearly. And so they went from Stu and I can see his face. I can't think of his name. The guy who succeeded him, he got fired. But then that's it, right? So it's the number of coaches that get fired that's really just jumps out at me, because that means your program stinks or it's not good enough. And for Utah, maybe it doesn't stink, but on Utah's level of expectation, which is deserved to have a high level expectation, because you and I have only been here a slice of time, but yet we have seen some great basketball, and then we can go back and look, a guy who's 65, 75, and so forth, they can recite it personally because they were there. And so it is a proud program, one of the best in the West, and Majerus obviously had one of the best in the country, and now you have these coaches fired. I mean, when Urban wasn't fired, and so the program then didn't really skip a big beat. You know, they were reloading to an extent, but they promoted somebody. That's what you'd rather see. Coaches can come and go, as Utah State has shown, but don't have them all be fired, because then that's where it gets really bad, and that's where we're at.
Tony says it's not fully Craig Smith's fault. It's all about the Benjamins nowadays. If Harlan wants a good team, he needs to find some more money.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
I think there's more than some. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I don't know. Is Utah State just rolling out big amounts of money?
No, but they're not playing in the Big 12 either.
Yeah, but he didn't play in the Big 12 until this year.
True.
So, and I don't think there's a big difference between Pac-12 basketball and Mountain West basketball. There normally isn't. You want to go Big 12, you got me there. But he's not getting fired on a sole season in the Big 12. You need the money. There's no doubt about it. There's just no doubt about it. There's no question about it. I understand that completely. That's the reality of the world. What's his face? Fran Fraschilla, our guy, I've known him for years. He put that out in a tweet or in a post on X. You can go read it, where this isn't about coaching. And I get that. So I'm strongly agreeing with you.
And the cost of poker is only going to go up. Like, whatever was good 3 years ago isn't good enough now, and will that be good enough in 3 years? Probably not.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, what this settlement on the $20 million that the schools can pay. I think we might have some leveling out there. I'm not sure, though. I want to see how it goes. I'm just repeating what coaches have told me about that, as far as what they think. And I've had multiple coaches in multiple sports tell me they're looking forward to that money to be able to be distributed, and they think that it'll help their football program, basketball program. So I don't know. I don't know personally, but I'm repeating what people who are invested in this tell me.
And I 100% believe you've been told that. I 100% believe they've said that. And I 100% believe they want to believe that.
I think, no question they want to believe that, because that levels
that's
the field.
Part, and that's the part that makes me uneasy.
Okay,
because you want to believe it,
right?
But the fact is, if the other school down the street, or if the other powerhouse in the conference wants to win enough and wants to raise a little more money, then the race is back on again. So I think that first year or two when it hits, it'll be like, okay, and then quickly it'll be on again.
Yeah, I think that but depending on, I get your point, but if they want to win at all costs, but the coaches here that I'm talking to are in town, or down the road, if you get my drift.
I do.
They're looking for this go football. They're looking for 11-2 seasons. They're not necessarily looking for a spot in the final, because for them to stay employed and get raises, 11-2 is going to happen every season. No coach at BYU or Utah is going to get fired at 11-2 unless they have some off the field stuff. You're just not.
They're not.
Because that's a great season no matter how you spin it. And so they're looking at being able to compete on a relative level and have a lot of success. When you win 11 ball games, you're feeling great. Everything about life is awesome. You're probably not competing against Ohio State and so forth, but you know that's always been unrealistic. Why would that change now? Now, basketball, you can say, and I can hear what people are saying, wait a second, man, we had the lead on Kentucky at halftime, and you did. So it is a different animal. For basketball.
But I would also attribute some of that to Majerus magic, and he was just really good at getting the most out of his players.
But he
for
got
the Utes,
players,
he
too.
did. But for the Utes, the standard has to be get to the NCAA tournament more often than not, and then let's see some Sweet 16s in the mix. Because lots of coaches up on the Hill have gone Sweet 16. I think only 3 of the coaches up there have gone Final Four, but they have done it 4 times under 3 different coaches over the years, all different sets of circumstances. I did almost. Yeah. I took a very shallow breath. That was a mistake by me.
See, and you'll grow from that mistake.
I got to sit up straight, expand the lungs, stop slouching.
What Bear was talking about.
Yeah,
I'm the guy who runs out of breath.
Yeah.
All that stuff is true. And to an extent, and I know this sounds dramatic, but take it with a poetic license, it pains me to see Utah basketball go through this. When I was there at the Watchdog, sitting there for all those years, all those games, it was the place to be, man. It wasn't BYU. It was Utah all the way. And they earned it. And to see it slip away, to an extent, it bothers me. I don't have the passion of growing up as a Utah fan, but, I was inside that program for so many years.
And that decade that you were there day in and day out was really good, but you also knew, because you were talking to people who'd been there in the 60s, 70s, 80s, how good those decades had been. And you could look in the media guide. Well, in some places, you probably talked to a guy who was there in the 40s and 50s, and Arnie Farron. So it was 60 straight years. It's not like everything was great, but there was way more good than bad.
Right.
They were at a high level for 60 years. And you went to a Final Four. You went to multiple Sweet 16s. You talked to Arnie Farron, and he won a championship. They brought up other teams. In the 60s, they had a couple of Final Four teams. And now it's 20 years with 3 NCAA bids, and it should be a national program. Right. It should be better than this. Everybody knows it. That's the promo you just heard. Josh, I think it was Josh Grant, was on the air in the afternoon saying the customers are right. The customers are right. They're not coming. The program doesn't match the standard. And I think that's the standard is NCAA tournament more often than not, and you got to mix in some Sweet 16s. Majerus went to 4 of them. Jerry Pym went to 2 or 3 of them before that. And you can keep going back, previous coaches, and find those Sweet 16s and Final Fours.
4 for Pym.
4 for Pym. I cheated him. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a highly successful run.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't here, obviously, in the 70s. But I've certainly, as an NBA fan, the tag team that I heard and that I knew of, Chambers and Brains.
Chambers and Brains.
I knew of them.
Yeah.
And so when I get hired in 1993, the Tribune gives me a choice. What do you want to cover? Not a choice of anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was a choice of some things. And they put 3 or 4 different what we call beats on the table for me. This was literally at the airport.
Yeah.
I'm at the airport getting ready to go back to L.A. when they come out.
And
offer
like
me the
Utah
job.
basketball sounds good. Those guys are good. You've been in L.A., you know.
Exactly. Yes.
I was in San Diego and Santa Barbara.
Right.
I knew.
And so I knew of Chambers and Brains. I didn't know them personally, but I certainly knew them. I knew who they were. I knew they played at Utah. I knew they were high picks. And then Chambers had played for the Suns, so that was another local connection. So I thought, well, sure, Utah basketball. Of the choices that were available to me, which were some pretty good choices, that appealed to me the most. And I made the right decision. And I also, which then ended up as a side note to so many people over there hating me because I got the pick and they didn't. And so, I got the number 1 choice.
Yeah.
And
Look at you go.
there was a core of people, and then the radio. Oh my gosh! But that's soap opera stuff, and they can all do what to themselves. You know that. I'm still here doing my thing, but it was basketball because of the rep that I knew. I didn't know jack about Utah football. I literally knew nothing, and there were a couple other things that were pretty good. Any of them would have been good for sure. But I chose Utah basketball because I knew of it. And to see it now, 4 coaches been fired since Majerus hopped on a plane that night and did what he did?
Giacoletti, and then Boylan, and then Kristoviak, and now Craig Smith.
And what's funny is the other 3, it's like ASU football. Every coach since 87, since John Cooper has left, has been fired. And put Herm off to the side. We all want to forget him.
Some coaches obviously were going to get fired.
But they all had success. Mm-hmm. They just couldn't ride it.
Couldn't sustain it.
And you look at Giacoletti, success. Boylan, success. Larry, success. Boylan had success.
He went to one NCAA tournament game.
That's success.
Yeah. In 5 years, he had one game, and it was the year that Giacoletti's recruits were seniors.
4 years.
He was there 4?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. He went 24-10. So he goes 18-15 his first year. Mm-hmm. Second year, 24-10, and then 2 losing seasons. And then Chris Hill didn't like all the buffoon stuff.
Right.
We'll go Utes, and my wife, she doesn't like me this week. And, they're taking the mic. Yeah. That really turned him off. And then Larry had 26-9, 27-9.
It was hard to believe it fell apart. It was a really good.
You thinking, all right, they're back.
It was not only the 2 seasons that paid off. The year in front of it, you could see it coming. The year before they.
Well, you could see all years.
You could. Yeah, I mean,
there was improvement every year.
Was probably one of the best lines. Whoever came up with that was an awesome line.
The first 4 years, he literally improved every year. And then, obviously, in the 4th year, he got him to the Sweet 16. And they got beat by Duke. And the next year, I think...
second round.
Gonzaga crushed them. Yeah. Over in, if I want to say Denver, I was sitting courtside for that.
And then...
And to see why as I said, Craig Smith isn't judging on just simply 1 year in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 is I've always believed, and I had a little bit of bias because I was covering the Mountain West or /WAC, that there was no difference. So Larry then in 2017, 2018, they had 2 years in a row in which they finished 3rd in the Pac-12 and they didn't go to the NCAA tournament. That ain't happening in better basketball conferences.
That was a bad era of Pac-12 basketball.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying Utah State is winning. Don't compare it to the Big 12. That's a joke. But the Pac-12.
There's some parallels there you can point out.
Yeah, and they've been getting it done.
Yeah, and you can see what happened when Oregon State and Washington State went into the West Coast Conference. Washington State's in the bottom half of the league. You think Oregon State's running 4th or 5th.
So this is a big time hire. You can't go 5 coaches getting fired in a row. No, you got to get this one right.
There is another thread, another theory that runs through this storyline, and we will get to that next. Stay with us.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Ute insider Steve Bartle. Alex Jensen was in the mix when Craig got hired. In fact, I know that he was offered the job and decided to stay put with the Utah Jazz at that point. I got to imagine Mark Harlan will make that phone call again.
He will be at the top of the list. Alex Jensen, he is the dream hire, given the fact that he's beloved as a player with what he accomplished here under Rick Majerus. Kevin Young at BYU, he sort of paved a path for coaches in that same sort of position. I think for Utah, this is an opportunity to potentially, hit a home run, a hire if you're able to bring him in. That will help kind of turn the vibes around with Utah basketball.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day is The Used. Utah native and lead singer Burt McCracken celebrates his 43rd birthday. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com.
You know who'd be 82 today?
Nope.
George Harrison.
Ooh. Well, Yaakov was somebody younger. He's been encouraged in that direction.
Yeah, it's fine. It just came
George
up on
Harrison.
Twitter.
Yeah. 82. Utah fires basketball coach Craig Smith. What do you make of it? There is a thread that runs through the 50-plus responses we've gathered on our Facebook page, DJ and PK, and you can go read them all for yourself if you care. Tony, not fully Craig Smith's fault. It's all about the Benjamins nowadays. If Harlan wants a good team, he needs to find some more dollars. Matt, they need to fire the guy that fired him. Rick MacArthur, terrible AD up on the hill, embarrassing. There's more of those in there, but Harlan's taking the heat, PK, and I think there's a couple reasons that his name's getting lumped into this. And one is it's bad for an athletic director when your football team isn't bowling and your basketball team isn't in the NCAA tournament. And it's especially bad when the rival is enjoying good times in both of those sports and you're enjoying good times in neither one of them.
No question about that. The close of the Arizona game, which was, I think, Utah's first of 7 consecutive losses, somebody on the field employed by U of U for many years says to me, you know what really stinks about this? The other guys are 5-0.
Yeah. And fans want answers now.
Yeah.
Back to the Josh Grant quote about the customer's always right.
I will say the football thing, I think, is more circumstantial.
And maybe with some healthy quarterback play that they haven't had in 2 years, it could be a very different story.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not talking about 12-0, but I never talk about 12-0 for anybody. Go ahead.
And also a hire here who gets the basketball team in the NCAA tournament takes a lot of the heat
I
off.
think there's two things.
There is something else, but go ahead.
It's the embarrassment of the
behavior after the BYU loss.
Yeah.
Being on the field late in the game and then what was said at the podium.
Right.
Yes. And especially in reference to the Big 12.
Yeah.
Being mad at the refs in the moment. There's a long line.
Yeah, but
and you're the AD, so you shouldn't.
The
but there's a
going
long
on
line.
the field.
That was the problem, yeah.
That was the worst. The popping off, it's funny, man.
Lots of people popped off.
Yeah, we give these guys a 10-minute cooling off period, but in the rivalry game, it needs to be a 2-week cooling off period. And it's so intense.
Yep.
And
but for all the
BYU
reasons we
was
just
going to
talked
go
about.
to 9-0
Yeah.
or 8-0, whatever they were at the time. So combine it with that, and everybody knows what the other guy's doing in your conference. It may take a little while for the Big 12 for everybody, but clearly Utah knows what BYU's doing. BYU knows what's just like when they lost. When Utah lost a certain basketball player who may be still playing here to Arizona. They knew fully why they lost to him, right? It was financial, and they knew it. So there's not a lot of secrets. And so the point I'm making is the U of U knows that BYU, you're not going to outbid us. That's a forever quote. Forget pump my gas and win by 9, not by 2.
Nobody's forgetting those
and
either.
Magic happens,
but this one,
I hate them forever.
This one's on the list in capital letters.
Yes.
It's not being forgotten.
Yes. It is so freaking powerful.
The gauntlet has been thrown down.
Yeah, you will not outbid us.
Yeah.
Come on. That's how many? Is that the 15th article of faith?
It should be.
You will not outbid us.
It should. Yuck, wading into the fray. A little more than I expected there.
You brought it strong. I like that.
Yeah, that caught me off guard.
No,
it should be. And I think it was tone.
We got to find
as
out
much
who the
as it
14th is first, but then we get to
Oh,
number
okay.
15.
I didn't know there was 13
There's
or
13, but we'll make that the 15th.
I missed it by 1. Not bad. I'm ballpark. And so they know.
I figured 14 was won by 9, not by 2.
Oh, thank you, Gary.
Whatever it might be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's a powerful quote. So these guys over there are feeling pressure. And it's not like I give Mark a complete and total, don't worry about it, buddy. But I also don't want to nail him here because he did what he did in those games. Now, the basketball, that's another story. And this, you could say legitimately that this hire is a referendum on him.
So I think it comes back to one of your points. It's no one thing. It's everything. It's not just about after one football game. It's not just about the basketball program's 4 coaches in, and he's not responsible for all of that. It's not just he's let some employees go, and they've got not nice things to say on a regular basis about him.
I've heard it.
That's out there in the
That's all
community,
true, yeah.
and the people are posting this. It's a tightly wired community. If we've heard it, 200 people have heard it. The people who are out there, they're not holding back.
It sucks for them, but I also think that the leader has the right to hire his or her people.
So it's all of these things together.
I
You
get
got
it.
a drumbeat of negativity. You got a basketball
And you're
program
an
that's been
outsider.
down for 20 years. You are an outsider. you're struggling right when BYU's getting it right in both sports.
Yeah, and they've got a kid going on ESPN and announcing his commitment.
Right.
There's no buzz in Utah basketball, and all of a sudden, there's all sorts of buzz by BYU. Yeah. You never won in McHale, and they went down there the other night and won.
And any candidate who's going to come in is going to look at BYU and say, okay, how am I going to match that?
Yeah, right. And money talks. Money always has had the loudest voice in the room.
Especially when it comes to NIL, as you've already talked about.
And it's not just about doing it now. It's about being to accelerate. And I do think there can be some leveling off for a while when you get this new river of money flowing in.
Revenue sharing,
but I don't think it levels off forever. In 2 or 3 years, it ramps back up again. I mean, every time the salary cap goes up in basketball or football, people want more. It's never enough. There's always an agent out there banging on the door wanting more. DJ and PK, Jeff Johnson, former Ute basketball player, 8 o'clock. Josh Grant, former Ute basketball player, 9 o'clock. And Mike Folta, hockey radio club voice. You hear him on the game tonight. He's going to join us at 8:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.